following is a recording from Twitter Spaces on Wednesday, January 12th at 11 a.m. Pacific. We missed the recording of the first couple minutes. So basically, this is a Spaces where we had different people from around the NFT space come on and talk about the Looks token airdrop from the new NFT marketplace, Looks Rare, and to talk about the general future of NFT marketplaces as it relates to OpenSea, Coinbase, and anything else that may be coming on. You're going to be joining mid-conversation as Backer Party is telling us what the Looks token is and how it was airdropped or available to be airdropped to anybody who had spent at least 3 Ethereum on OpenSea. Enjoy the conversation.
Where the primary objective of it is to reward the users of the platform. And so they've come out with this token called Looks, which I'm sure everyone has, been made aware of by now in some way. And it's pretty much taken like my Twitter feed by storm. Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty cool. You can earn it so there was an airdrop based on activity on OpenSea actually in the past 6 months. So from June 16 to December 16, everybody was eligible if they had more than 3 ETH of volume, so buys and sales, and then from there you can buy more on Uniswap, you can stake it on the website, and then you can earn more by transacting on the Looks Rare website as well.
Okay, so it's basically like a token that is like the I guess like the backbone of the marketplace, but you can't use it on Looks Rare to buy NFTs, right?
No, so you can't use Looks to buy NFTs. It doesn't have that value, but it does have the value of being a tradable token, which of course you can track it on whatever websites you like Dex Screener, Dex Tools, Uniswap, stuff like that, and you can trade it for ETH. You can trade it for another token as long as that liquidity pool is set up.
Right. So what has been the activity then? So people have gotten this token to be able to claim it, and what's happened on Looks Rare since? Are people buying, selling NFTs? Is that what's actually going down, or are people using the platform as intended?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yes and no. It's hard to tell because it's so new. But there's definitely been a lot of volume. I think it exceeded OpenSea's volume just within 24 hours, and so it was doubling up on their volume. There is some, obviously, there's projects that need to hit that 1K volume in order to start earning rewards, and so people have been kind of targeting that for extra volume there to try and get the rewards. But definitely seeing a big change where we've had larger sales. I mean, there was more ape sales on Looks Rare than there was on any other NFT marketplace in the first 24 hours of Looks Rare launching.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, overall volume has just blown every other marketplace out of the water so far.
Okay. Mainly OpenSea. What other marketplaces are there that people use that are in the running?
I don't know if they're in the running. I mean, OpenSea is the main competitor, but there's definitely Rarible, which I don't know why you would want to use Rarible, but there's definitely that option as well.
Right on. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Backer, for that primer. I do want to go around everybody else on the chat right now. I want to hear from you guys. Let's just do kind of more of an icebreaker of have you been able, just give me your because we might not know you in our little community here. So especially for both Chris's, want to get a little bit more of a proper intro to you. Everybody knows CT, but want to ask you guys, if were you able to claim any Looks Rare, and are you holding or dumping or staking, or what actions you're taking at all? Chris Mattern, we'll start with you, man. What's going on?
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. Tell us, dude, you know what? Actually, we've chatted in the past, but tell us for a lot of people listening in, where you're coming from, what your background in the crypto space is.
Yeah, hey everyone. It's great to be here. So Chris Mattern, been in crypto since kind of 2015, 2016 on the kind of straight up crypto space, mostly kind of speculating, buying, selling. My co-founder at my last business, Mike Dudas, was the founder of The Block. So then got kind of more involved on The Block, and today sit on the board of The Block. And then really only got into NFTs in the last 6 months and hated the user experience that we have today. And so I've been building a little tool called Floor NFTs, which aims to be kind of your pocket NFT app. And so that's where a lot of my time in Web3 spent these days.
Did you claim Looks token? And what have you
I
done with
did.
it? If you did, what have you done with it?
Yeah, so I think I fell in the kind of like 2,500-ish looks tier.
Hmm.
And I grabbed it. I didn't really do any math. And then I staked it. And then immediately after I staked it on probably the highest gas day that we've ever had, I was like, there is no way that staking this is going to pay back the gas that it cost me to stake it. But then actually their compounding interest is pretty good. And so I think it will actually pay back more than pay back the gas that it costs. But I am holding and I have staked.
Okay. Okay, cool. We'll come back to you in a bit, Chris. Thanks for that insight there. CT, what's going on? Corporate trash.
Hey LG, what's going on?
Oh,
What's up?
I was just saying, I was just excited to have you on.
Oh, nice, cool. Yeah, so I also claimed my Lux tokens. I luckily had a little bit in one wallet and then the majority in my regular wallet, and I've been staking them ever since. And yeah, I definitely have earned back the Lux rewards at its current value, at least for what it paid it for what it took in gas to stake them at the time, because I did them pretty early when gas was crazy. And I'm really excited about this marketplace. I made a big sale on it the other day, and it was a good experience. I kind of freaked out because the sale is in wrapped ETH, right? So you don't see it in your MetaMask immediately. You have to, switch it to ETH. So that was scary for 1 second. But yeah, I'm excited about the platform. I love the competition.
Okay. Are you, I mean, I feel like you told me that you did claim a lot of tokens. So I'm assuming that you've been pretty active on OpenSea in the past.
Yes, too active.
Okay.
Yes.
And in case we missed this, the amount of tokens you were able to claim was tiered and scaled, correct? In terms of how much activity
Yes.
you had done in OpenSea.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thanks, CT. And Captain Zwingli, Chris Jordan, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you, man. Probably the person I know the least on the show today. So tell me a little bit about you, man, and have you been able to claim any looks?
Yeah, I have, and again, thanks for having me. Long time listener fan since I believe the very first mint condition. So the first mint. So
They
excuse
do
me.
blend together. They meant they meant
Subconsciously
together.
segueing into my introduction, right?
All
No,
good, man.
it's great to share the stage with your voice, the best voice in NFTs, in my opinion. So, no, been in the space for coming up on a year now, by way of Top Shot, and spend a lot of my time over at the DJ network, with that crew over there, and just community driven platform around this space news. We've had a lot of fun here recently hosting one of these spaces every morning, Monday through Friday, early, 8 a.m. Eastern time. So for you out on the West Coast, really early. But and if anyone's up and around that time, love to chat a little more. As far as looks, I did claim, similar to the others, did claim my initial looks. I immediately staked them. And I since went back and I had a second wallet, like CT mentioned, and I provided a little liquidity, and staked those LP tokens. But I guess more so than anything, in the short term, like I think there's a lot of excitement around the token and the potential returns and all that. But I think CT said it best. Like I'm a fan of competition, and just already seeing some of these new features, like the one thing I used already on it was the collection offer. I think is really cool. And I would think if nothing else comes of the platform, I mean, I hope it's the best. I'm optimistic, but if nothing else, I hope it's competition like this that we get to see some of these features in OpenSea and or others.
Beauty. Okay, so we're all deep into it. I just want to zoom out for a second here, guys, and I'm just gonna throw it pretty open, because I've had a few questions about this on my own. Because I have a lot of friends right now. It seems like at the start of this year has been like the time that now all the normie people who were like borderline curious so far are now like hitting me up. hitting up my friends being like, all right, I got 20K to invest in NFTs. What do I get? What's the next apes? What am I supposed to do? And you're just like, and it's like a bit, you don't know how to answer without like overwhelming them to shit. But you do want to help them learn a little bit. I think maybe a good way to start, to zoom out, is I want to hear from you guys. If you are explaining what looks is and its importance and what it's trying to do, if you're explaining that to somebody who's really green with NFTs, or maybe somebody like even in our community who's never really ventured outside of Top Shot, how would you do that? How would you explain it? Long silence. Don't make me pick one of you.
So how would you explain what Looks is attempting to accomplish?
Yeah, what
looks
the marketplace is? Yeah, like why it's important and what exactly it's trying to do.
So I think, I guess, I don't know how philosophical we want to go here, and I'll if I get off the rails, pull me back. But
I love it already.
We're building. We talk about this Web3 world and building this decentralized environment, this decentralized metaverse, economy, community, et cetera, et cetera. I think with decentralization, a lot of the tools, platforms, projects, like not all of them will be decentralized, and I think it's a spectrum, right, from decentralization to centralization. And I think one of the things that if you're let's say Top Shot native and not familiar with OpenSea, think of it as like the eBay of NFTs right now, where it is the leading secondary marketplace, but bigger than eBay, it's got a dominant market share. Someone Backrap had mentioned Rarible. I don't know the exact statistics, but I guess personally, I don't know anyone that's doing their primary buying and selling on Rarible. It's the overwhelming majority is on OpenSea, unless it's a native marketplace, a custom marketplace to the project itself, or something outside of a universal marketplace for everything on chain. I think there may be opportunity for more of that, but for all intents and purposes today, OpenSea is the Goliath in the room. They've several rounds of funding valued at $13-ish billion, and all signs point towards likely going filing an IPO, going public, and becoming a very much so centralized company or marketplace in this space. So I think there's some that may go down the do we want a large centralized marketplace at the core of this ecosystem that we're building. Outside of that, I think just from a competitions piece alone, there's been frustrations with you might say lack of innovation in terms of features or support to the community, or downtime with the server, with the marketplace, and fully respecting that the scale and what they're attempting to accomplish is arguably unprecedented, right? They've been growing at just incredible multiples month over month for the last year, and tough to scale with that. But at the same time, when you're in that kind of mode, I could also imagine where you're focused on just keeping the lights on and keeping things running, as opposed to innovating and delivering new features. And I think that's really where we can see competition be a good thing. And I don't think LooksRare will be the last, but I think they're making a great effort towards providing, at the very least, a decentralized option or a decentralized marketplace for to compete not only with OpenSea, but just to provide those in the space that don't want to take their business to a centralized platform. Now they have other places to look.
Is there like a good comparable for this? Because you use like eBay. Is there like, or even in crypto, like is there a good example that we can maybe compare to that, like what LooksRare is trying to do that OpenSea can't? Right? Like if OpenSea is eBay, then what is LooksRare trying to be? Or maybe we don't have that. Maybe that's the whole kind of decentralized part that you're talking about, Captain, right? Where it's like the decentralized part is the whole point of Web3.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if CT or Chris or Backrap have a better response. I think maybe if we look at one comparison, might be like what for what Coinbase is on a exchange standpoint to like compared to Uniswap or SushiSwap. That would be like the OpenSea would be the Coinbase comparison, whereas LooksRare is looking to build something more like Uniswap or SushiSwap. I think part of that is entails rewarding the the builders, rewarding the users, and when we say builders, not just the devs and the team, but the early users, the beta testers, and the early brand ambassadors.
Yeah, it's interesting. Right. If you asked OpenSea, I actually don't know if they'd tell you that they're trying to be the Coinbase. I think they're trying to be the SushiSwap or the Uniswap. And, the vast majority of what they do, to the extent allowed, is on-chain. And, they don't do a particularly active job of policing, what is on their marketplace. Like, it's for sure not easy to say that it is generally safe to trust stuff that's on OpenSea in a way that I think Coinbase very much kind of built their reputation on. We won't be first to act. We won't have the most things, but we will make sure that it's kind of safe for people to onboard to. And so I'd actually love to see LooksRare go the other way and take more of an active role of ownership in making a safe place for, the next 100 million people to onboard, because people get scammed buying fake floor tokens at least once a week. And as fast as we can, manually request for them to be taken off OpenSea, a new one pops up. And as the cost of making NFTs goes down, as either a secondary L1s or just better efficiencies on the L1s that we have, that's just going to become more of a problem.
Yeah, go ahead, Baccarat.
Yeah, I think that's a good point made by Chris, but I think the counterpoint to that is like when you have too much involvement with these scam tokens and like the scams, like you're really getting away from the decentralized aspect of what we truly want in Web3, right? So people, yes, when they're being onboarded, and there's a lot of scams where people click faulty links, they have stuff shipped out of their wallet, offers accepted, all that kind of stuff. They lose everything. At the current moment, OpenSea steps in and locks up that asset, and it can't be traded on that platform. Like personally, like my individual personal opinion is like that's wrong. I don't think OpenSea should be doing that. And the reason for that is like, where does it stop? Like, really, you can't trade it on OpenSea, but right now, OpenSea, like you guys have been saying, that's the only place you can trade actively, right? Like, even if you list something on Rarible, if you have a locked asset, you have to trade it at a discount because people are going to not want to pay, the same floor. If the floor is 50 ETH on OpenSea, you're going to have to sell it for far less than that because the buyer's not going to be able to sell it again on OpenSea or whatever other platform. I think, in my opinion, LooksRare should be getting away from that and just kind of saying the onus is on the user. If you mess up and you click on a faulty link and you're trying to avoid fees or you're trying to do something that like there's a trading platform created for you. If you want to create a private sale, you can do that, trade on that platform. But if you're trying to use other websites and stuff like that to trade, I don't think that you should be compensated for it if you end up messing up. And LooksRare, I think, should go down that route, especially because they have staking for like for Looks tokens on if you trade, like you get rewarded for that and stuff. So like CT was saying, she had a big sale yesterday. She's not the only person that got rewarded for that, right? Like I personally have all my tokens staked. I'm also getting rewarded for that. And so if you continuously stake your tokens that you receive, you're getting rewarded for more activity on the platform. So you should want more people to trade. And if you lock up assets, I think you're taking away from that more than you are promoting. I think like the whole Web3 experience. Just my 2 cents, I think, on that topic.
Well, I think we see that a little bit with the collection offers, right? Someone put out, I think Pranksy put out a collection offer. Ding put out some collection offers, which means that someone's making an offer on the collection and will take pretty much anything. Well, we'll take anything in that collection. And with that also comes transfer of tokens that may be locked up on OpenSea. And I guess that's good and bad because maybe they're locked on OpenSea for a reason, but like Bakr said, maybe they're locked for a reason that isn't valid. And the problem is that, from my understanding, many people never hear back from OpenSea about why their tokens that they bought are suddenly locked and they can't transfer them, right? And I think LooksRare has also kind of found a niche for themselves because they are starting with communicating to their customers, to the collectors, and trying to make themselves visible on Twitter, and interacting with people and adding transparency in that way. So yeah, I think they're starting out on the right foot. I know there's been a lot of talk about the quote wash trading and stuff, but I'm sure we can get into that later.
Yeah. I see a huge trade-off in Web3 generally between kind of the ideals on one side of openness and agency, and also just wanting Web3 to be a place that can possibly scale to 100 million users in a way that's safe. And it's going to be interesting to see where stuff lands, because a place where people get scammed every day, even more than on the regular internet, is not a Web3 that, even if it meets our ideals, that we actually want to practically scale to the population of the world.
That's actually kind of what I wanted to ask you guys next is, like, in terms of that proper scale, right? Because I still look at everything that we're doing in the NFT space, DeFi space, crypto space, is like, we're still in that really early stage. And you see those memes go out every day. I think like Thread Guy put one out yesterday that was like, we're in the like Game Boy Color era of like of the space where it's like we don't even have like the PlayStation part yet. But also I've heard OpenSea compared to being potentially the Alta Vista of the space, right? Where it's like in 1995 we had Metacrawler, we had Alta Vista, we had Ask Jeeves. Inevitably now we just use Google. There's nothing that really can unseat it. So with that in mind, it's like, OpenSea has reached 1 million users, right? Which is, or just about reached 1 million users, which is great. But, even like you guys were saying, it's like, well, what does it take if we do get, if crypto Web3 does get to 100 million users, and those let's assume all of them want to trade NFTs. Probably NFTs will look a little different by that point. But what is it going to take for that to all happen in one place? And is that part even possible? Because even if the ideal marketplace is decentralized, is the idea of all of us using one big decentralized marketplace even practical and even makes sense for the ideals of Web3? Or is the future of 100 million users 10 different marketplaces, all of them decentralized and all interoperable? Right? Like, how do we get to that point? How do we prepare for that 100 million users? Because that could happen really fast for all we know at this point.
So I think in both the speed it happens as well as how we do it, it's largely due to the onboarding that a couple have already brought up. Is whether and I agree. I think OpenSea kind of overreaches their bound sometimes on locking things down and making decisions with very little communication. I think that's a key part of it, is that support. I don't know as if what they're doing today in terms of the interaction and the quick responses on Twitter, or I don't know if, I'm assuming you can submit a ticket maybe on their site or Discord. I don't know as if that's scalable from the current base to 100 million. But I think it's key, and then just what the experience is for a new user. So maybe they're not locking copy or unofficial collections, but I think just the speed to verify and not that it's the answer, but having their some of their collections marked as eligible for rewards, earning trading rewards. That's you would think obviously a verified collection, and I think just some of that stuff goes a long way. I don't think we can overlook just the brand new person day one. Not just how they pay, how they onboard, from fiat, or there are other ways to transact, but also like when they're shopping and what that actual marketplace experience looks like. And I think there's ways to really, you would hope. I mean, even today, like the search on OpenSea, it's not great. I think it has getting better. I think there's been an update recently that's a little better, but you could go in and type the exact name of the collection you're looking for, and in the first three returned are non-official collections. I think search could certainly be improved, and there could be things that could be done to mitigate some of those poor experiences for new people onboarding. And hopefully, this competition, whether it's Looks Rare and or those other marketplaces, help do that.
Do you think that that's what they're going to do with their, because OpenSea just raised a Series B $300 million, right? And that to me is like, I'm even thinking like, I worked in the social media space for a long time, and I'm even just thinking about like approvals and verifications and all that kind of stuff. It's so messy right now, but it was for a while on Facebook, where you had so many different like pages, and it was so hard to flag stuff, and it still is. But from an approval standpoint on Facebook, at one point it went from like being like, if you had an issue or your ad didn't go through, you might never get it resolved, to suddenly it was like within 30 minutes. Because they set up, really just that manpower of having enough people, literally enough eyes on the platform to verify that kind of stuff in real time. So I'm assuming that, OpenSea with their latest rounds, that is what they're planning for, even if there's no short-term progress, that in 18 months, 24 months time, that they will be ready to handle that volume. But
Yeah.
is that what we're going to need, right? Is that the most vital element, is just having, being able to mitigate all the scams and errors?
$300 million is a lot of dollars. And
yes,
realistically, there's only two ways that you can deploy that much capital. One is to just flip it around and say, you know what, actually, we're going to focus on the developer side of this, and we're going to create a developer fund for people building on top of OpenSea. And then the money kind of like goes and finds its way onto the ecosystem. The other is to staff up and man that desk and, start actually actively policing your marketplace and go and hire 100 engineers. I think there's still only like 60 people or something. Last time I heard, very small team. They've got to 10x the size of the team realistically to actually deploy that capital and start working it. My guess is that's the way they go. Everything I've heard from that team has kind of told me that they want to lean in on the consumer side. And I think that does mean making a safe marketplace in order to onboard a really large number of people, and to do so in a way that doesn't bring regulatory challenges to the space. Like, if we onboard 100 million people and they all get scammed, that the regulators are coming for NFTs at that point.
That's actually a good question. Is actually that's a good segue. Is like, in terms of regulators, I mean, I'm assuming, we all assumed, and just thinking, there's so many different layers to unpack of where OpenSea has had issues. And thinking back, like, it's not even that long ago now. It's like 5 months when there was the Nate situation. And the main comment was like, all right, well, here we go. Here come the regulators now, because you've got this massive, insider trading scandal happening at the one place where there's literally $100 million flowing through every single day. Is the ideal, is something like Looks Rare, being decentralized, and I believe that the founding team is anonymous. How does that? I don't have enough experience, I guess, in terms of like running a business or managing the legal repercussions of crypto, to even start to understand how it's like, if a site like that can survive essentially like off the books, if that makes sense. I'm not really sure where to start there.
I don't think it's more so trying to survive off the books. I think it's more so trying to survive like what people's perception of who they are is. I don't know if I said that properly, but like, so for example, like you brought up the Nate situation that happened 5 months ago. It was like day old news, right? Like people forgot about it within a couple of days. It was gone, and there was no repercussions. I mean, like whatever, he lost his job and stuff, but like there was no like consequences to the platform. because there was just like there was nothing else to like resort to, I guess. I know I mentioned Rarible at the top, but like, you're not going to go from OpenSea and like everybody's going to leave OpenSea and go to Rarible. I think a bigger risk to these platforms is not the regulation, because I think that's just like a more dicey subject. Like with government getting involved and stuff like that, it's just they're also not going to get involved until they have their ducks in a row. And I think we're like quite a ways away from that. They're not just going to hop in and say like, "Oh, we're going to regulate this due to these concerns." Like, I don't think they've given it enough thought yet. It's more so like the risk of losing their market share. And I think that's where Looks Rare comes in, and they have the opportunity to take that market share. Even though they're anonymous, the people that have backed it and provided funding are not, right? Like the people that actually invested their money, personal, individual money into this platform are mostly doxed, well known, like well respected individuals in the NFT and crypto space. And I think that helps the platform quite a bit, as opposed to OpenSea, where it's, they're kind of like selling their shares to VCs and they want that corporate money to come in. Their new CEO, I can't remember where he was before, but he's like a serial IPO dude, who like pretty much confirmed that like they're gonna go public. Which, how does that make sense for a Web3 like platform? Um, but yeah, like I think the bigger concern over regulation from like the feds, quote unquote, is actually like the perception from the people that are using it. And because Looks Rare has people backing it that, like I personally like watch and track, um, like three or four of the people that invested in Looks Rare. I think a lot of other people do the same thing, and they're kind of known as like good traders or well respected in the crypto space, and they're successful. They have their own platforms. They have a lot more to lose rather than these VCs who kind of just have like money coming in. Because even though the team's not doxed, um, the money is. And then it's the opposite for OpenSea, where like the team is doxed, as in like we know like Dan and like the other couple guys, but like where's the money coming from? We don't know who's actually funding from these VCs and stuff either, right?
I think the important part of that is that people have the choice now, right? So before there was, I mean, there were a couple of NFT marketplaces, but you do have the choice to put your, ETH where you want to spend it. If you want to spend it with OpenSea because it's been around longer and you're more comfortable with the fact that they have, traditional funding and, a CEO, CFO, all those sorts of things, and that they're marching towards likely doing an IPO, like Bakr said, then that's fine. If you would rather spend your ETH where it's kind of, it's like for NFT people, by NFT people, but you can see who the seed investors were and you can choose to either, trade on the marketplace or not. That's what I like about it, is it gives people a choice. I mean, people aren't going to all hop over to Looks Rare like tomorrow. There's been a lot of people trying it out, which is great, but people are going to stick with OpenSea. Some people are, and I think that's fine. So it brings up another point about anonymous devs in the space. A lot of people, there's a lot of Twitter posts I see about why would you give any ETH to anyone that's anonymous in the space. My personal thought is that I think it's a part of the space. So I'm not super. It's not like the top of my list to be concerned about. I will never mint a project with anonymous devs, but some people do feel that way, and I understand. You're not sure who they are or where the money's coming from, but in my opinion, I think it's just sort of risk you take in the crypto space.
What about apes?
What do you mean? What about apes?
They're anonymous.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm into apes, so I don't have a problem with that, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
No. That's a good point. Well, actually, this actually my question there is like,
speaking of apes, because I saw somebody mention on Twitter the other day that it's like what Bored Apes could do for all we know, or what they might be planning for all we know, is that they might just create their own marketplace, right? Seeing as how apes and mutant apes and the dogs and the token, it's like that occupies such a massive portion of the NFT market. And those are tons of fees that OpenSea has been collecting. That in a sense apes hasn't been. Not that they need more money at this point, but I've seen that floated around a few times. And I guess my question is like, in terms of Looks Rare, or really like for any other uh, marketplace incumbent or any other challengers coming along, or even just the general idea of the marketplace competition, what is more important in a sense, or like how do you manage incentivizing users versus incentivizing projects, right? Because in this case, I guess Looks Rare, the projects still get to take their normal percentage, their normal royalty percentage, right? But the platform itself doesn't take a percentage. So that's both better for the project and the user because more money just goes back to both. And is that, I guess I want to ask you guys, like, how does that fit together? And is that the way forward? And how does that affect bringing people on with like a really rewarding and functional experience versus bringing projects on in a way that will incentivize the projects to want to put their NFTs there?
I think what we need to think about is like what is that platform capable of with that money, right? Like
Mm.
that they receive from the platform fee of 2% or whatever it is. So like I have some friends like following along in Discord and stuff, and somebody just made a good point. Like, what has OpenSea done with the funds that they receive, not just through like their raises, but also through the 2.5% that they take off each sale? And like as somebody who uses the platform literally 24/7, I don't know if I can confidently say that they've done anything in the past few months. Um, besides, like just go down every couple of days for, 3 to 4 hours at a time. Um, so if they're taking that platform fee and not injecting it back into the marketplace, and who knows, they might be building in silence, right? Like they might be doing something on the back end and just kind of come out and blow everything out of the water. Sure, that might happen. But now Looks Rare comes with this new model where they're not actually taking any fees and they're putting it all back into the effectively into the marketplace, right? Because they're giving the Looks tokens back to people that are using the platform. Um, if this takes off, and if like CT said, it's not going to be an overnight transition, but if over the next month or so this starts taking off, I can definitely see other platforms adopting this model, of rewarding the users as opposed to just kind of taking a platform fee. And so I think really like fundamentally, like maybe like other people have noticed differences or changes on the platform, but I haven't seen anything done by OpenSea in the past few months that I would say like, oh, that's what they did with the $100 million that they received last July, or that's what they do with the $1 million a day that they take in with the 2.5%. And like I would consider myself as somebody who's on OpenSea 24/7. I don't know if anybody has differing thoughts.
Clearly not. If anybody has, and also I'll just take this pause for a second. CT, I know you're just unmuted, but anybody in the audience who has questions, comments, we just put up a little tweet that if you have anything to add or you have any questions for these guys, just post them up in there. It's the pinned tweet in the spaces. CT, over to you. I think you were going to answer backer there.
I was just gonna say I can confirm that Becca's on OpenSea 24/7.
Specifically at midnight Pacific time. And I call that,
Yes.
personally, I call that backer time because that's usually around 11 o'clock my time that backer starts to like my tweets from that day, and that he then becomes prominent in the different Discord channels that we frequent together. So
Nocturnal for sure.
yeah, that's it. That's backer time.
You can't call me out like that, CT.
Guys, I think in a sense, like for marketplaces, I think there's a bit of an elephant in the room here, which is Coinbase, right? And they've been clearly, whether you call it teasing, in some cases, I find the tweets, the content to be a little cringy in terms of the, hello fellow kids kind of vibe to it, but in terms of their approach to Coinbase NFT, but inevitably they are, clearly preparing to make a massive move into the space. When they put out their sign up list for their NFT marketplace, it had over 1 million signups, which immediately eclipses the total users on OpenSea. They're already an institution in the space, probably the most trusted company in the space. What are they like? I don't even know how to approach that. Like, is it, do you guys think it's a matter of Coinbase has to eat into OpenSea's market share, or once Coinbase launches, everyone else is just going to be trying to play catch up or trying to survive?
I think it depends on how much they involve like their current exchange customers, I guess, if that's the right way to put it. So it depends on how many people they can convince who are just buying tokens and, on their exchange to move over to NFTs. They're different things. Definitely, I think NFTs are a lot more fun, but I think it really depends almost like on their marketing campaign, at least at first, and how they're able to educate and transition people over to NFTs, because that's really their benefit, right? Is that they already have a large existing customer base.
Chris Mattern, what do you think, man? How's Coinbase going to enter the space?
Yeah, I think CT's roughly right, which is they promise a bridge to many tens of millions of consumers who've already been activated to crypto, and if they start coming into NFTs, not only will their default first place to start, and I think OpenSea is going to have a really hard time convincing anyone that the first place to start in NFTs isn't Coinbase, particularly in as much as they integrate the wallet and the marketplace into one experience that people can kind of seamlessly understand. Because it is not simple getting set up for OpenSea, getting MetaMask set up, getting some ETH into it, buying your first NFT. It takes an hour for most people to just figure out how to buy their first NFT. And I think Coinbase will probably turn that into a few seconds for Coinbase customers. So I think they're going to be successful at bringing a lot of people in. And I think they're going to change the space forever, but I don't know if it's going to be entirely in good ways. They definitely seem to be taking a very walled garden approach to how they choose what's on this marketplace. And that's not really in line with the culture that we have more generally. So it seems like they're going to launch with a very small number of hyper curated collections that are going to be creating a mixture of exclusive stuff, new drops, and probably some back catalog on the platform. And, we'll see how that goes. I think it'll hurt them, but culturally, I think what we think of as NFT culture right now and what the 100 million that get onboarded through a Coinbase version of this world are probably two very different things.
Do you think do you think Coinbase would create their own NFTs?
They'll definitely be
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, there'll definitely be a creation platform as well, for sure. And I think that's actually a really smart play, be a two-sided marketplace.
Well, absolutely. I think if I'm an everyday user, or I've just got a small Coinbase account where I've got a bit of Bitcoin and a bit of ETH or whatever, and I'm dabbling and I'm curious about this NFT thing, and I get the email from Coinbase, which I already trust and I've used for a couple of years. It says hey, we just launched our NFT marketplace. Come on over and claim a couple free NFTs. That would be incredibly powerful. And it's also thinking about anybody who's used Coinbase the last couple of years. They have education programs where you earn tokens for running through these little courses. And some of those tokens have done incredibly well, post course. So that to me is such an easy on-ramp for people. But then the question is, what does that education look like? And will those people ever leave Coinbase as a marketplace? Right? Is it, oh, you're going to learn on Coinbase to get your first NFT. But then if there's apes and there's, cats and rumblekongs, all that kind of stuff there, what's the reason to leave?
So I think they would likely some, maybe not all, but likely some leave and explore and go to other, we'll just say decentralized marketplace or marketplace that include everything on chain. But that may still always be their home base or where they revert back to. I think it's in the range of outcomes that we could see. It becomes like two bifurcated tiers of marketplace competitors, where it's OpenSea competing with Coinbase, and that centralized world of multi-billion-dollar publicly traded entities, and then the second layer is the looks rares and or the native marketplaces to specific projects, whether it's apes or gutter cats, or fill in the any of these projects where there's a material amount of volume that would support it. Once these others are stood up, and the tech has been built, and the space has been pushed forward, I think it unlocks a lot of that. And I think there's still space for all of it, especially if the user base grows, right? If we get to that 100 million, and I think that's where hopefully Coinbase can help. It's kind of ironic that we knock OpenSea for taking this what appears to be a centralized path, but yet we're excited about the already centralized Coinbase company coming in. But LG, you hit it on the head. Their onboarding of not just crypto to not crypto native to NFT, but someone who's never set up any wallet, who's never held Ethereum, who owns zero crypto. I think they're, based on what they've done already and how they've onboarded so many retail traders into crypto. I'm hopeful they execute similarly and help bring a lot of new people into the space, give them an education, and it's almost like their learning curve, their chapters, their training wheels, if you will, is on Coinbase, where it is a little more a little more gated, a little more walled. It may not be fully in line with the ethos or the culture of full Web3, but I think I guess I'm of the mindset where I think some of those gates it's okay, especially when we talk about onboarding the masses. And I think it's good to help them get started in a somewhat protected environment, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's even, relating it back to our experience here in the community, right? Like that was what worked so well about Top Shot a year ago, is that people could come in, didn't take long to really understand what was happening, and it was like buy a pack and open it. It's nice experience, or it's a well designed experience, and all they had to do was swipe their credit card, right? And packs weren't, well, some were expensive, but some weren't too expensive, and the marketplace, even though it had a lot of issues, was somewhat functional. But it was such an easy on ramp, at least for sports fans and sports betting fans, right? So Coinbase is going to do that. Not the exact same thing, but I'm assuming that the key for them, same as it was for Dapper, is to provide a very frictionless experience for people to at least get their first taste, right? To at least, I think it's so important. I've been thinking about this so much, over the holidays and the last couple of weeks, is like, it's all these questions that I get, to bring it back to what I was saying at the start, is like all these questions. How do I invest 15 grand in NFTs? Like all these crazy questions I'm getting now is just like, for me, it's like, well, the easiest way to do that is not to think how you can invest. It's just like, you just need to get an NFT and have it and be in this little community, and then you'll start to learn and understand what it is. But I think that first touch point is so vital. And even thinking back to like internet cafes like 25 years ago were a way for like the everyday person to walk in off the street, and they're like, here's the internet, use it. You just pay like $1 an hour and you get to use it. You get to make an email address that everybody talks about, right? And that Coinbase is well served to prepare that. My question is now, kind of bring this all the way back to the start, because we did want to talk about looks and where to go from here. We've gravitated towards talking about how beginners get into this, which is something like Coinbase, and how OpenSea can compete with that. For something like looks, which is clearly being heavily enjoyed by people that are by CTs calling out of Bacra, people that are on OpenSea all day. They're clearly enjoying this new platform. Where does looks go from here if they want to stick around in this fight, right? Because OpenSea is still the staple. Looks is having a good first week because people are enjoying it. People are enjoying the rewards. The pro traders are enjoying it. Coinbase is imminent. Something like Looks or any other great platform comes along, like FTX working on their platform as well. What do they do from here to stay in the fight, to stay relevant?
I think it starts with just continuing to like give the people what they want, right? I know it's cliche, but so far they've created a little bit of intrigue, and if they can continue to perform and act on it, I think they have a good trajectory for their platform. So it's really just about this is what we want to do, continue to do that, um, and provide a viable space for people to trade NFTs. Um, they already have like that transparency. They have a public Trello board that shows any issues that people have come up with on the platform, the priority of them, and like how they're working on it. I think things like that, like little things like that, make a huge difference. And as long as they can maintain that, I think they'll be like pretty successful in my opinion.
I would agree, and I think in the short term, it's almost as simple as CT said earlier. It's just communicate. It's be responsive, right? It's right now. It's like they're not going to be able to implement every fix or every change, but when whether it's someone new or someone's been in the space a long time, and it can be scary. I'm sure for some where they something's not happening, or even like CT said, hey, like where's my this transaction is sold, but where's it at? Because it wasn't wrapped, or it is wrapped, or I'll get it wrong here, whichever direction. But um, just getting quick answers and um, in executing on, I don't want to say necessarily roadmap items, but sometimes it's like those coming soon beta features, and then certainly any break fix stuff. I think if they can stay up and finish some of these, I don't want to say basic features, but some of these features that we're accustomed to, in addition to the innovative ones they've added. I think they've, um, the platform itself has some legs. And the earlier point though, with those raises, OpenSea has a war chest. It's going to be very interesting to see how they deploy that. And the other thing that we will be interested to see how this plays out is the types of mergers and acquisitions that take place as these marketplaces spin up. I don't, maybe looks rare. We don't see another one for a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see another one pop up here.
Captain,
Look,
I've always said, oh, go ahead, Colbert, CT.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say really quickly that I'm definitely not a crypto expert, but the trouble with having this, looks token is that you're always looking at the value of the token, right? Like everybody I know, especially because it's new, some people have staked it, provided liquidity. I mean, everyone's like laser focused on like, okay, what is this price? When should I sell? When should I get out, right? When it's really about building this new marketplace that kind of is supposed to reward everybody. So, I hope that they continue to focus on usability and new features and taking feedback and communicating. And it's probably hard, but to maybe peel off a little bit on like the exact fluctuations of the token. And I'm guilty too. Like, of course, I'm staking it. I want to know what rewards I'm getting. But that's kind of my thought on it.
100%. It's got to be more than the tokens to sustain.
Agreed. I think with any product, I think someone addressed it earlier. Are they for the beginners? Are they for the more savvy? They've got to lock in on who their intended customer is, because you can't win them all, and then build a feature set that really speaks to that customer set. With the challenge of, even if you do that well, you still need to win a lot of the other customers, because you need liquidity in your marketplace in order to successfully compete. Like building the best tools for degen buyers like us doesn't matter if most of the supply isn't available through that marketplace.
I agree. I couldn't agree more with you guys. Great points all around. I just wanted to read a couple of the comments that we had come in. From uncle.eth, I wish we could lower pricing on looks instead of canceling the listing, unlike OpenSea, where you can sign a transaction to lower your asking price. All right, well, there you go. Already a little bit of feedback from somebody that wants to see something different on the platform. Commentary on short interest on FTX. I don't know if that's a question or a comment. I'll admit, I have not had the chance to look into what FTX is planning specifically. I don't know if anybody here has, if you guys have any insight there, any reads on there on what might be coming from FTX.
I think I saw in the Discord there was just some chatter about people trying to short the token or something like that. I'm not too sure exactly what the specifics of it was, but I think it was just rumors of people sending messages within Discord.
Yeah, all I know about it is honestly that Tom Brady was in a commercial for it. So that's all I know.
And Steph Curry as well. Okay. From Rob, if you were launching an NFT collection, would you sell your first mint exclusively to a marketplace? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I think it might be something we see more of, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one that first came to mind was Nifty Gateway. I think was probably the second platform I landed after Top Shot. And I think I bought a couple Blau pieces early on, and that was it. But same things, similar to Top Shot, that on ramp to be able to get funds on there. And there was artists that were specific to that platform. I think there could be more of these micro marketplaces. I don't know. I'm bullish on competition, and more is good, and especially if they can execute. And CT said it best. Like that's where it's exciting that we can help support someone who wants to solve a problem for us as a community, right? We all complain about OpenSea, and here's someone's. So that's where I don't want to lose sight of the developers, whether they're anonymous or not, and token price or not. It's like, hey, here's something that the community wants. Let's build a solution, and okay, here we can help them get there. And if they do it, we may share in some of those rewards. But I think it's really cool our ability to, there's people in the community that stepped up and saw this need, and we can help in a small way.
Well, and in a way, we also see that exclusivity on a lot of other projects. I just don't think we see it as an exclusivity away from the platforms. But even something like the Nas drop yesterday that was supposed to be on Royal, that is an exclusive right to a marketplace, right? Or at least I don't know. I guess that's an exclusive right to a drop platform, maybe not to a marketplace. But we already see that in terms of release platforms, right? That it's it has to, that everybody's gonna been chasing that brand nugget right now, is to get the athlete or the celebrity or the brand to launch on their platform. So it is something that could scale to marketplaces as well, as you want to get them to not only launch on your platform, but launch on your marketplace. And again, that's something that, perhaps Coinbase has the connections in the cloud and the capital to make that happen for a lot of drops that we're not aware of yet. Right. So, a common question I get is which celebrity would you want to see drop an NFT? And Phil and I always answer Drake. And maybe for all we know, something like Coinbase is the kind of company that already has that ready, right? And to just kind of crush everybody else. So, definitely a really good question there. Anybody else with thoughts there on that? Is that healthy for the ecosystem to have projects seek out exclusive or platforms seek out exclusivity?
I don't know if it's healthy, but it will definitely happen. If I were Coinbase, that would be a major go-to-market for me. Create exclusive opportunities for people, which force onboarding of maybe even folks that wouldn't naturally start with Coinbase. Makes total sense, locks in supply. We've even done it with Floor, where we'll do partnerships with folks to kind of pre-buy supply, or lock up a certain percentage of the supply and make it exclusive to our token holders, which has actually proved to be a really, really effective mechanism. And so I think there's a win-win in there if marketplaces want to start doing that.
I think the time I got most excited about the Coinbase NFT marketplace is when I was tuning into the Ghost Town Hall. They're one of the featured collections with Coinbase NFT, and in the town hall they just kept basically saying it's just going to be an amazing year for Ghost. I thought we can't really say anything else. And as someone who owns something in the collection, I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is amazing. But if I were someone coming in new that is can't afford a 7 ETH NFT in one of these collections, it's tough. So yeah, it's kind of a dichotomy between wanting to help people that are new to this space, but also happy that some of the higher end NFTs that I have are going to do big things with Coinbase NFT.
Got a comment here from Graslow. I would add that we need to decentralize the non-US NFT marketplaces to protect from security concerns and censorship risk from public companies de-risking. We as a community should help these platforms by supporting tools that aggregate from multiple marketplaces. Sales bots are an example of something that's dominated by one marketplace that we could start to decentralize. Good comment there, Graslow. All right, folks. I think we could probably wrap this up. What I'd love to know from here. Last question for each of you. To everything we chatted about here, and thanks again for the fantastic commentary. And I think this has been exactly kind of what we were looking for in this chat. From here, you all have Looks token staked in some way. Is this a day by day decision of holding and staking, or are you guys in it? Are you guys locked for the long term here? Chris, Matt, we'll start with you, man.
I think my entire airdrop I staked, and then I bought more to provide liquidity on Uniswap, and then also stake those tokens. I might de-risk a little bit if the price gets, like, I slept through the $4.50 that it hit earlier this morning. But I think if it gets back up to those levels, I might sell off a little bit, but like 90% of what I own is locked up long term.
Beauty. Chris Mattern, how about you, man?
Yeah, I'm in. I'm sticking around. I don't think I'd be tempted to profit take in the near term unless it got really, really high.
CT?
I definitely have price targets that I'm watching out for. I'm someone who likes to sometimes sell half and keep half staked, or in the LP or whatever. So I'll be keeping an eye on it for sure.
Beauty. The last captain, Chris Jordan.
Similar. I'm long and supporting the project, but may take a little bit off. I real quick before we wrap though, I need to apologize to everyone listening in, because if they saw, I thought we might have had Josh. I see Josh in the audience. I gotta apologize. Looks, we definitely did not bring our A game in terms of puns with the looks today. So I know we probably let many of our listeners down, Josh included. But I saw he might be a panelist. I'm like, I gotta think of some dad jokes or some ways to incorporate some looks puns, but. It just hit me. I just now saw him like, I definitely failed there. So my apologies, but really enjoyed the conversation. And thanks again for having me.
Thanks, Gavin. Josh was a big maybe, so I'll give that as a caveat. So, Josh, glad you could join in and listen for the last couple minutes here, but we did miss you. Oh shit!
It's not a good look, Captain. That's not good looks. That's all I gotta say.
Oh my God, Dad's here to keep us in line at the end. Josh, holding, selling, staking looks. Where are you at?
Yeah, sorry, I had another call and then I jumped in, but
dude, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, I wasn't on the private sale, so I'm sorry that I got in at at the crazy price. So I'm stuck holding that, right? Because I'm vesting over 6 months, though it's earning wheat, which is incredible.
There you go.
I claimed some and market bought, staked it. So yeah, I'm in for the ride. We ride with Dingling, I guess is how it goes. But I also understand, I got in at a price that makes it so that there's a lot of upside on this, and not necessarily, for the same kind of decision where you're deciding that for something whether to get in now. But I like that there are real rewards in staking, both potentially earning more looks and then also earning wheat. Like, there's a lot there that's gonna helps to get in early, so it still looks good to me.
Beauty. Well, we're just wrapping up, Josh, but I'm glad you could hop in for a minute there, and good to know you are strapped in. The train is running, and you have no way out for at least 6 months. So whatever happens. But clearly, everybody here a pretty big fan of the platform, and I am as well. So. But thank you, everybody, for the great comments on the current state of the marketplace and what it's going to take to go to the next step, right? Get those next million, 100 million users on. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for the support. I know we've been kind of slowly zooming out from our normal content and looking to have more community conversations like this. So hopefully we make these more of a regular thing. And thank you to everybody for joining. Chris already hopped off, but Backra, CT, and Captain, thanks so much, guys, for joining in for your great thoughts today.